No ID is meant for a sane audience. No ID may contain liberty-oriented content. Pinko discretion is advised. Now, here's No ID with Paul Banducci and Scott Moskowitz.
All right, here goes nothing. It's
Hello,
No
Internet,
ID.
we're back.
Yes, No ID with Scott.
And Paul.
There you go. Inaugural show now from our respective compounds. And both of my fingers and both of my toes are crossed.
So, Scott from the Post Falls compound. I'm hailing here from the Clark Fork Castle. I hope you all are as excited about the show as we are. We are very excited because I think it took us a week and a half to figure out the audio, Scott.
Embarrassingly, yes. And what's so pathetic about it is these are all just a few button clicks, but it's just knowing about which button to click and where to send this audio source to this headset or out to this feed. It's all just a bunch of settings that just need to be clicked properly. And if I knew what I was doing, the whole thing would have taken about 2.5 minutes. But instead it took like 8 days.
Audio is really, really complicated and really, really simple. Who knew?
And when I've done audio stuff in the past, it's been hardware. It's been, a mixer board with, potentiometer sliders and XLR inputs and outputs. And I can see where the cable is going. I plug the cable in and I drag it across the room and up behind the desk and plug it into the other thing. That made a lot of sense to me.
Cable make noise.
I know. I felt like Zoolander, like I'm like whacking the computer with a club. It's so simple.
I actually used that meme when describing it to a family member yesterday. He works in the video audio industry as well, and I picked his brain a little bit, and I sent him that meme. So it's perfect. Also, now's a great time to put a call out. If any of you guys happen to be audio engineers that we could have on tap in case we have more struggles, the pay is terrible, and we are really bad bosses.
Do we require a drug test?
No, the opposite of a drug test. We don't hire you unless you do drugs with us.
I'm hoping that should be good. I mean, this is not something that should change or require maintenance. It should just, now famous last words, but this should just be the setup. So I'm hoping we have a minimal need for our stoner audio tech. But I guess you never know, so...
No. I think this is why our dynamic works so well, though. You're ever the pessimist, Scott. It's like, we're set up, we're good to go, it's going to work now. I'm like, okay.
There's like a really fine line between pessimism and realism,
Oh, yes.
Sometimes I feel like I'm
Actually,
just
my
being
mom
realistic.
used to call me a pessimist, and I said exactly that to her. Well, not exactly, but close enough. I said, I'm not a pessimist, I'm a realist. She didn't buy it.
The world keeps giving me feedback that actually I'm not nearly pessimistic enough. I have very little faith, and that's much too much.
At times I'm inclined to agree with you, but here we are. What can we do, right? We're both men of faith, and I think a lot of our audience are also people of faith. So, but speaking of faith, last week, the Sandpoint City Council showed that once in a while, common sense actually prevails. Barely, but it did prevail. I'll let you start.
In North Idaho tonight, the city of Sandpoint is looking to make some big changes at tonight's city council meeting, amending an ordinance that's supposed to protect people from discrimination. Kreb 2's Christian Garza went to Sandpoint to talk with city leaders about what's on tonight's agenda.
In the North Idaho city of Sandpoint, big changes are set to be addressed in regards to the city's non-discrimination ordinance, which was established more than 13 years ago. It grants everyone the quote-unquote full benefits of citizenship. Amy Midstock, one of the board directors with the Sandpoint Alliance for Equality, says a change of this magnitude can not only affect community members today, but potentially affect the city's future.
We're known among a much broader community as a town that's welcoming to all. By reversing or amending the ordinance,
Unless they're a Republican,
we really run the risk of losing a significant part of what brings vitality and prosperity to our broader community.
The reason behind amending the ordinance now, after 13 years, comes after a lifeguard with the local YMCA told city officials she saw a trans woman changing in the women's locker room back in mid-October. Sandpoint Mayor Jeremy Grimm says no.
Let me translate. She saw a guy changing in the locker room. The mainstream news speak What did they
Local
say?
YMCA told city officials she saw a trans woman changing in the women's.
She saw a guy.
Nope.
Okay.
And those are actually the words that the lifeguard used. That is what caused the issue, because articles came out. So before this vote took place, there was already hullabaloo going on, and this vote happened fast. It all happened within the span of about a week of this popping off. So I live up in Bonner County, and Sandpoint is the county seat of Bonner County. It's the one big city. It's a very blue city. They're very proud of that, as you can tell already. They're very proud of themselves in general. It's an interesting place, and the YMCA is where this happened, and it was, a man in the women's bathrooms, and the surrounding area of Bonner County is pretty deep red. Most people still have some common sense outside of Sandpoint, and a lot of them go into Sandpoint for things like the YMCA. So at some point, this was going to be a problem, and lo and behold, a man uses the women's bathroom, and wouldn't you know it, some people don't like that. So a lot of noise was made about it. Fast forward to a week after that, and the city council has to have this vote because they realize a lawsuit is coming. Lawsuits are coming. That's why they did it. So Sandpoint was considered like what do you call it when you're harboring illegals and you're not supposed to? A sanctuary city. Yeah. We live in a weird time where everybody talks about the letter of the law, but then depending on how you feel about the law, you've got sanctuary cities for illegal immigrants, you've got sanctuary cities for gun rights. And now you have sanctuary cities for men who want to dress up like women and go into the women's bathroom.
I'm thinking about it. I'm actually wondering why the YMCA has even been allowed to continue being called the Young Men's Christian Association. Isn't that like racist and sexist? Shouldn't it be the Young Person's Non-Denominational Association?
Local YMCA told city officials she saw a trans woman changing in the women's locker room back in mid-October. Sandpoint Mayor Jeremy Grimm says no formal complaint has been filed with the city or the police department for the situation. He clarifies that no complaint has ever been formally filed since the ordinance was established back in 2012.
What my ordinance does, quite simply, is it just reflects state and federal law.
Under current Idaho state law, people must use the bathrooms consistent with their gender at birth at specific locations like schools and other state-run facilities. And while the situation that started this conversation had to deal with something that happened in a locker room, Midstock says this ordinance is bigger than that, not just for the LGBTQ plus community, but for everybody.
Just to clarify, there is no LGBT start up, down, left, right, start, select community. Because if you talk to LGBT black people who do not agree philosophically with the activist sect of the people who would refer to themselves as LGBT, it becomes clear there is no community. I've had many of these conversations. These people don't speak on my behalf. They're communist activists. They simply use the gay thing to hide, and now all the other letters. They hide behind it, and they use it to sort of bludgeon you into silence.
And that's evidenced by also a number of, there's a lot of groups that are like gays against groomers or gays against trans movement, because imagine being a gay person. So we laugh about, we make a lot of gay jokes on this podcast, get used to it. But ultimately, we also believe that, you do you, boo, just don't legislate it down my throat. Haha, pun intended.
Come over for a gay time.
Oh, I will, but because I choose to, not because it's the law. So imagine being a gay person now, where you've worked since, I don't know, the 30s, 40s, 50s, and people could be arrested for being gay. And then you had the gay marriage fight, and then you had all these different fights for essentially, equality. And you finally get there. And after you get there, in the early 2000s, it takes less than a decade for it to not matter anymore. Because, what is the point if men can be women and women can be men? Same thing with feminism. If you call yourself a feminist, what is even the point anymore? If anybody can be whatever they feel in the moment. If a man can be a woman, feminism is moot. What are you doing?
That's why there was never a T. The T was not a part of it originally. It was LGB or LG. The T, as soon as you added the T in, the whole thing became, this whole thing is about commies. Got it.
Midstock says this ordinance is bigger than that, not just for the LGBTQ plus community, but for everybody.
But it protects also people from housing opportunities, or for housing opportunities, employment opportunities, receiving services, using public facilities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the reductionist idea that it really is just about protecting people in locker rooms is pretty myopic.
This, by the way, just to clarify, that's from earlier. This is the lady from the activist organization. She has like a nose ring, and she sounds like a miserable person. It's the same
Does
lady
she have
that they're interviewing.
4 names with hyphens?
What? Good question. What was it?
The quote-unquote
It was...
Amy Midstock, one of the board directors with the
Amy
Sandpoint
Midstock.
Alliance for
I'm
Equality,
surprised.
says a change of this magnitude
Using public.
So ultimately, the city council and the mayor met over it, and this was, let's see, just a week. I think it was just a week ago today, and the city council voted 3-3 to roll back the non-discrimination ordinance. Which, of course, here we are breaking down mainstream narrative. I love how they call these things non-discrimination ordinances, which at face value sounds like a great thing, right? Because discrimination at face value is bad. At least we're told it's bad. But anytime the non-discrimination is used as a term anymore, really what it means is somebody is getting discriminated against. It's just usually whatever the out crowd is in now. So, which in this case tends to be white, straight Christians. They're the out crowd. So non-discrimination just means, get fucked, you guys, and everybody else has the protection of the law behind them, and they can do what they want. So Sandpoint had a very strong one in favor of the LGBTQ folks, and they had to roll it back. They realized there was an issue. There hasn't been official complaints yet, but they knew it was coming with the advent of this YMCA issue.
Let me clarify. That wasn't just and maybe this is what you mean by rolled back. It wasn't eliminated. My understanding is that it was just the language about people confused about what sex they are. Those are no longer like the protected class that they were, as far as the statute goes.
Well, and it also it was specifically pertained to. So you're right. Thank you for making sure we explain. When I say roll back, I mean bring it in alignment with current state law, which is in alignment, I think, with federal law. But I'm not actually sure about that. I just know that what Sandpoint did last week was to take their ordinance and realign it so that it matches Idaho state law.
And the only thing that changed, is the gender confused or whatever the hell term they use. Just those persons are not a protected class.
You must use a bathroom that is consistent with your gender at birth. So the gender you've been they clearly
you
were.
almost said
when
assigned.
You were
Did you hear that?
born.
You almost said
I did
assigned.
almost say it.
You see how effective the propaganda is?
Well, it sucks because assigned actually is the proper term. You are assigned it, but you're assigned it based on immutable biological
by
characteristics.
God. Yes.
For shame, I know the very fucking idea. Oh look, there's a wiener. It's a boy. Who knew? Whoa! Like, what do we put on his birth certificate? Male.
Wow.
And fast forward to 40 years later, and this dude with a wiener is in the women's locker room at the YMCA, and we're the crazy ones for going, hey, you shouldn't do that. So state law in Idaho says you can't do that because we should protect women from psychologically disturbed men and vice versa. And even for my son, if it was the other way around, I don't want my 11-year-old son, he's doing in the locker room and we're playing sports or doing the thing. And, that's a place for the boys. And all of a sudden some chick who thinks she's a man walks in. What the hell is my poor 11-year-old kid supposed to try and figure out and do? How do you navigate that situation? The only situation where I find myself in the bathroom with a woman and I know what to do is when it's my wife.
I'm thinking back to the movie Porky's, the famous early 80s sex comedy. It might have been a little before your time. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I've only ever seen the one scene from it that matters, which is the part where all the teenage boys have discovered the little peephole. There's a hole in the drywall or whatever, and they've discovered the peephole into the women's locker room. And it's an 80s sex comedy, so it's just a reason to have full frontal nudity for 7 consecutive minutes, as part of the movie.
Yeah, that was back when they had movies that were rated PG, but now they would be R.
Yeah. They had Airplane, the lady shaking her boobies around.
Airplane.
PG, suitable for 5-year-olds, yeah. But what's great is imagine the notion of going back and being hey, actually, you don't need to be crouched in the crawl space peeking through this hole in the sheetrock. You can actually just march right in there and be no, I'm a chick. I'm just here to shower with you guys. We're almost done, by the way, with this. Let's just finish this real quick.
It really is just about protecting people in locker rooms. Is pretty myopic and narrow.
Mayor Grimm argues it isn't the city's place to decide on topics being discussed on a state and federal level.
We're never going to solve this locally. There is a great chasm between beliefs on this issue, and I think it's best settled in the courts.
So Grimm, to his credit, has probably been one of the least maniacal and crazy mayors that Sandpoint has had in a long time. And I'm not just saying that because I agree with what he did here. His track record shows that he's about 50-50, 50 crazy, 50 not. And that is, bar is pretty low. That's fantastic for a Sandpoint mayor. Credit where credit is due. When he gets it wrong, I'm gonna nail him for it when he gets it wrong. In this case, he actually got it right. But it was less about what he, I think, personally believes, and more about covering the city's ass. And that's fair too, because if covering the city's ass means you're covering the taxpayer's ass too. Because the moment a lawsuit hits or a complaint hits, now the taxpayer's on the hook for all of that. And it was coming. Also, smart of him to recognize that it is a federal issue that's being fought. It's a state issue that's being fought. Why on God's green earth embroil the city in another fight when Sandpoint already is in plenty of fights because of how leftist they are? They already fight the rest of the county. They already fight the majority of the state, and it's expensive and time consuming. So this one was not worth planting the flag, dying on the hill, and Grimm knew it. And that's what a lot of the lefties in town are super upset about, is because to them, this is the hill to die on. Mayor Grimm and 3 city council members understood this was not the hill to die on.
I mean, everything kind of strikes me as a hill that they believe they should die on.
That's why they eat their own.
Name a hot button topic in the last 30 years that hasn't been the end of the world if it passes/doesn't pass.
Ultimately, a lot of this is going to get reviewed too in the next legislative session. There are things winding their way to the Supreme Court, and there's rumblings that the legislature will take up some issues revolving around this for this next legislative session as well. So summer, like winter, spring, summer of 2026 will reveal a lot about how this progresses and develops. So that's another thing that, again, smartly, Mayor Grimm and other city council members understand is already winding its way through the works. Why prematurely die on this hill when you don't know what state law is going to look like in 6 months?
Speaking of potential screw-ups of the state that may or may not cost the taxpayers money,
a male hunter dies after becoming stranded in heavy snow while hunting near Clarkia. That's according to the Shoshone County Sheriff's Office. They say a male and female's pickup truck got stuck in the snow while out hunting. Both hunters then attempted to walk out of the area, but the male hunter died on that walk.
Now, I'm not really sure why they're playing this it's like the opening credits for Air Bud or something. Like, it's very sort of upbeat 90s. I don't know why this is the music bed they chose, but here we are.
Walk out of the area, but the male hunter died on that walk. The female hunter remained with them until they were found by family members.
The music is exactly the music you play so that people think, wow, that's really sad. Better him than me.
I say, like, speaking of lawsuits that might cost the taxpayers, this just happened. So, and I don't know that there's going to be any lawsuit brought, but I have seen a lot of public questioning about the sheriff not deploying search and rescue, and then this guy dying. But it's sort of a confusing story. Like, weren't they only gone like less than 24 hours and this guy passed? Do you have any sense of what happened here?
Not a whole lot more than you. I've got a couple other fragments of information, but I didn't dive too deep into it because I thought it was, this is going to sound paradoxical, I guess, but I thought it was too odd. It didn't make much sense, and I wasn't actually interested in trying to parse it out because I thought more is going to come out of this, and I'm going to read about it when the picture is more complete. But there is a lot of hand-wringing, and the Shoshone County Sheriff is in hot water. I think it is revolving around his department's response or lack thereof.
Yeah.
Although I think specifically it was the timing of it, like how long it took them to make a response. But to your point, the timing of the amount of time that the lost hunters were out there. Now, it's easy to sit here in my warm house and say it wasn't very long because, when you're cold and you're lost and you're scared, an hour is forever. But, it was like a day. It was less than a day, which is a long time when you're having trouble, man. And, I get that. So there's some hot water being boiled up. And I think at some point somebody's going to be made an example of. I thought I saw that the Shoshone County Sheriff is resigning or has been fired.
Ye of little faith, you think I'm not prepared?
Well, new tonight, the Shoshone County Interim Sheriff Lance Sutsky has resigned from the department the same day the new sheriff was sworn in. According to our partners at the Coeur d'Alene Press, Sutsky said issues with the Shoshone County Board of Commissioners led him to the decision.
Just quickly, just in case that blows right past you, when they say our partners at the Coeur d'Alene Press, what they're telling you is that mainstream media all marches in lockstep.
Commissioners led him to the decision. The department has faced multiple budget cuts over the past few years, and just earlier this month, voters shot down a $2 million levy that would have made up for the lack of funding. Just days before that levy, former Sheriff Holly Lindsay abruptly stepped down from her position following a hit-and-run incident when she was driving a personal vehicle. That remains under investigation tonight, just a week after Lindsay resigned. Longtime jail captain Eli Lopez stepped down, citing the same budget issues as Sutsky. Just yesterday, the board elected Will Eddy as the next sheriff for Shoshone County.
And he will be resigning in about 15 minutes.
Either because of a traffic incident or because they don't have enough money. I guess that's the running theme in Shoshone. Okay, so like 3 points right off the bat. First off, to your point about media partners, mainstream media partners, that's what the AP is, like the Associated Press and all of the mainstream... Ta-da! We've cracked the code. You knew this. I knew this. Anybody who pays attention knows this. It's the Associated Press. So of course they all run the same articles. Look up on YouTube, and they do it for TV networks as well. And there's several videos on YouTube. I'm rabbit trailing hard, but in case you want to figure out how the Associated Press works and how TV affiliates work, there's a great YouTube video where they show 1,000 different networks saying the same message at the same time, and they put them all together in like this giant mosaic.
This technology is a threat to our democracy. A threat to our democracy.
This technology is a threat to our democracy. Yep. So anyways, more the more you know. As for Shoshone County, yes.
Prepared, baby.
I told you I love you today. Oh, for the record, I don't have my soundboard ready today. I will, though, for the next podcast. Just you wait. Oh, it's going to be great. I just didn't get around to it, but I will. So it's going to be amazing. Shoshone County, man, they're having a hard time keeping law enforcement for like what feels like a myriad of different reasons, but they're all kind of tied together, which is Shoshone in a nutshell. Anybody who knows anything about the history of Shoshone knows that everybody's related to everybody else, and most of them are dirty. And the people who fill their slots are not clean either. So Shoshone's an interesting place. It's a mining county with old families and old stories.
Well, and like you said, this is, I'm sure, well, hopefully more information and answers will come out about sort of exactly what happened. And, was search and rescue called? Should they have been? Was it 19 hours? Was it not for 39 hours? And a clearer picture of what exactly happened here, because I've seen enough. Well, what are we supposed to do? 99% of the time, people just show up. We don't call search and rescue immediately. That's not how it works. And then there's people going he wouldn't have died if you would have just acted. Blah, blah. So hopefully, as time goes on, we'll have more to play on that story.
Yeah. Well, in North Idaho, it's a slightly different culture, too, where there's a lot of people who do go missing and then show up. There's a lot of people who go away for a couple of days. It's hunting season, too. So, and everybody up here hunts. Everybody's pretty independently minded for the most part. So it's not uncommon for hunting parties or individuals to just go away for a day or two hunting and then pop back up. It's North Idaho, man. It happens. It's not actually that unusual. What is also not unusual is the media in the middle of this series of Shoshone County police resignations and whatnot, mentioning that, of course, it's about the money. In the middle of it, and because of shocker that the mainstream media would go, and because the taxpayer didn't give up even more of their money, but if we just would tax ourselves a little harder.
That's always the answer.
In Shoshone is a way less populous county. It is not a wealthy county. That is a big levy.
Some quick numbers. In 2022, the Shoshone County Sheriff's Office had a total salary budget of about $1.5 million. In 2023, the highest reported salary was just bumping up to about $90,000, and then it rose in 2024 to $94 and change. So I think it's safe to assume we're up about $100K now. Shoshone County's median household income for the rest of the civilians is $49,000 and change, and the per capita income is around $28K.
For inflation, that's below the poverty line. 45 was it, or 49?
49 and change. They call it 50.
You're below, adjusted for inflation as of the last couple of years, you're basically at or below the poverty line. And obviously at 25 or 27, sorry, I already forgot, but it was in the mid-20s, you're well below the poverty line. And the only reason that it is that high is the mining industry, what's left of it anyways in the Silver Valley, because miners, most of them make high 5 figures or low 6 figures. And it's not a huge industry anymore, but it still is a bigger industry in Shoshone County. And then, of course, public employees, a lot of whom make in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s range. Some of them 6 figures as well. It's good to be king. It's always good to work for the government. When in doubt, just, yeah, which is what we're going to talk about with Coeur d'Alene.
The city of Coeur d'Alene is looking to appoint someone to council seat 3 now. That seat opened up when the city elected council member Dan Gukin for mayor. Whoever they appoint will serve the rest of the term, which is until January 4th, 2028. To apply, you have to be a registered voter, at least 18 years old, live within the city of Coeur d'Alene, and have lived there for at least 30 days. To get an application, contact the city clerk. Deadline to apply here is Monday, December 15th by 4 p.m.
After having lived there for just 30 days.
A month. You got it. Yep, and you could be 18.
Man, calling all carpetbaggers. Come on, come one, come all. Oh, you know what? What are the odds that Pulsifer scores a city council seat?
That's well over 100%.
Maybe Pulsifer's going to get what he wants anyways, because everybody knows that city council is the rung on the ladder you step on to then get to mayor. That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
Now, it took Gukin, he was first elected to the city council in 2011, so it did take him about 15 years, give or take. I did find this now when I was kind of looking at some of that, like, I was doing a deeper dive to try to find some of the contextual clips from that supercut that was put together of him, like, oh, if a Jesus was here, he would just say to the Christians, get the, like all the, that supercut that was put together, which, by the way, I mean, we sort of touched on it on the last show, the notion of you can make anybody sound unhinged doing that sort of stuff. I mean, that supercut in particular, as supercuts go, was extremely tightly edited and propagandistic in its presentation as far as what it was trying to show Dan Gukin saying. Like, he wasn't, if he had said something in context like, if Jesus were here today, he would have a message for Christians and he would say, you are all cult member psychos, but like he would have played a much longer, at least a couple sentences together to show the context, but instead it was like 4 words. He would say, get the F, and then cut to the next thing. So it's baloney. The whole thing's ridiculous propaganda.
I think the point of that supercut was to illustrate how unhinged, and I mentioned that when we covered it in episode 3, because I watched some of Dan Gukin's podcasts, and I've been around long enough to see 2 decades of his behavior, and some of it has been, and his descent into what I would consider kind of some sort of mental madness, because the guy actually used to be a fairly intelligent, reasonable man. And I've shared a poker table with the man. I used to consider him a friend. He used to be a patron of the Bulldog Pipe and Cigar Lounge back in 2015, 2016. I actually spent some time with the man. He was a political ally. And at one point, he considered himself a libertarian. I don't know if he does anymore, but he used the word, and it showed. But, that was 2015, 2016. And it's been 10 years, and the man is unhinged. Because that's what I would take away from watching that supercut. Is like, oh, yeah, this guy's unhinged.
That was the point of that supercut, was so that people did come away with that. My point is not about whether or not Gukin is unhinged or not. My point is that it is a poorly put together supercut that is highly propagandistic in how it is presenting what it is trying to convey, and it is not trying to do anything other than elicit an emotional response from viewers for them to watch it, clutch their pearls, and be horrified, and then make a move for their keyboard so they can mash their fingers into it about what a Christian-hating psycho Dan Gukin is. He might be that guy, but if you wanted,
take umbrage with the supercut.
if you wanted to illustrate it in any sort of a sort of a way that, like an intellectually honest way, then you would include. You can do a supercut, but you would include 3 words from a sentence and then mash to the next thing. You would include a couple of sentences so you can get an idea of what the guy was really saying, and that is not what was presented. So there
you go.
Okay,
you get a bell.
Thank you. So I did find this, if you want to talk about Dan Gukin from maybe earlier in his life when he was more intelligent and a reasonable man, as you're pointing out. I found this from I think it's from the early 1990s from KFMB Channel 8 in San Diego, and it is actually a report featuring Gukin, and I think it might be paid placement for his book, like a native ad. I can't really tell.
Computers, whether you like them or not, you've got to deal with them in today's society.
A good example is just going to the bank. The last time you took a 20 out of the ATM machine, for instance, you were using a computer.
Just quickly, ATM stands for automatic teller machine. ATM machine is automatic teller machine.
Going to the bank. The last time you took a 20 out of the ATM.
I thought ATM stood for all the money.
For instance, you were using a computer. But for many of us, the question now is, should we let a computer into our homes?
That's the subject of this week's FYI segment.
Hey, Alexa, should we let a computer into our homes?
Oh, it's so good. This is so dated and amazing.
Should we let a computer
I'm sorry, Paul. I'm not allowed to answer your question.
into our homes?
That's the subject of this week's FYI segment, home computers. Do you need one? Where and how to buy one? And what to do with a computer once you get one?
At home, Dan Gukin's spare room is usually...
I love the nat pop of the him banging the keyboard.
One.
At home, Dan Gukin's spare room is usually humming with the sound of computers at work. He has 5 of them. It's not that he loves computers, but he's grown so proficient with them, he writes books.
Yeah, now I'm picturing Scarface's
here we go again.
all these different closed-circuit televisions,
I just hope that does he speak in this? Is this an interview at all? Like, does he speak?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I'm calling it right now. So I wouldn't say that I'm proficient, but a lot of people around me tell me I'm pretty proficient with these machines. I got a lot of machines. They're beautiful. The most beautiful computers in the world. And I'm told I'm pretty good with them.
You nailed it.
At work. He has 5 of them. It's not that he loves computers, but he's grown so proficient with them, he writes books about them.
I bought one on a whim when I was a cook in a restaurant and just got into it more and more, and eventually here I am self-employed and, having like the computer maven of the town, doing all the...
He's the computer maven of the town. Hold on, this is so good.
The maven?
That's what he said.
And, having like the computer maven of the town, doing all the computer stuff and know pretty much what's going on, and people write me letters and ask me how to help them. It's kind of fun.
Gukin is a self-taught computer expert who's written 16 books, from manuals to how-tos. He writes about computers, software, hardware, operating systems. He even has a radio call-in show. He admits that computers aren't for everyone. Not all of us need one at home.
There's a lot of things you can do with a computer, from astrology to zoology. A computer can do anything. It really can. And the basic purpose for it, though, is writing, doing computerized things. You have a computer in the office, you want to use a computer at home. That's a reason. Your kids are in school, they use computers, you want them to have a computer at home, or they don't have a computer at school. You want them to use a computer at home. Then you buy a computer.
Those who've decided they can't live without a computer at home might consult Gukin about which computer best suits their needs.
Here it comes.
Coincidentally, he just happened to write a book on the subject.
Oh, maybe we're just plugging the book. I'm not really sure, but if he paid for that or not, but... So I love that, just like so dated, like, does everybody need a computer? More at 11.
All right, I don't want to talk about Gukin anymore because I don't want this show to be the Gukin show. That man doesn't deserve all of our attention. He's weird.
Well, unfortunately, I got one more thing to do on him, and then we'll move on. Sorry, because we have some of my No Agenda fellow producers that are here in the show.
Fair,
so I want to share this.
My next brush with computer greatness was John C. Dvorak. If you were a computer nerd growing up or around in the 1980s and early 1990s, You probably knew who Dvorak was, as he wrote a very popular column. Now, I met him at a Comdex. I was nobody. I was just an editor of a local magazine in San Diego. And so it was kind of intimidating meeting him, and he was like, kid, whatever. So you fast forward a few years, and I wrote a book called DOS for Dummies. And all of a sudden, Dvorak contacts me because he wants a quote from me on his book. It's called Dvorak Predicts. And my quote on the front cover, Dvorak's barbed tongue and unpredictable wit have kept the computer industry on its toes for years. He's always a must-read, Dan Gookin best-selling author and creator of the For Dummies book series. After I did this, I asked him if he would do a blurb for a cover of one of my books. Obviously, quid pro quo. That's the way these things work. And he was too busy. Anyway, that's my brush with greatness with John Dvorak. I don't know what he's doing now, but I do remember fondly reading his articles, his columns, all those years ago.
That's pretty funny. Like, you can use a computer and find out what John Dvorak is doing now. He's been hosting No Agenda for almost 20 years. But what's funny about this, Paul, is...
What was the book called? Dvorak's book?
Dvorak Predicts.
I didn't hear it very well, and so I'm thinking, okay, so you got the guy who wrote DOS for Dummies, and then you got the guy who wrote Dvorak for Dicks. I thought that was funny, but...
Like F-O-R-D-I-C-K-S?
Yes.
Is that what you're hearing?
So I'm like, these two guys, like, this is perfect. Dvorak for Dicks and DOS for Dummies, they belong together.
You did hear what I actually said, though, right?
Well, now, yeah. Okay. Dvorak predicts with a P.
That would have been a much better title.
Predicts.
That's very funny. Okay, but what's funny about this is Dvorak very famously will do a blurb for anybody.
Anyone who asks me for a blurb, I'll just do it. It never does you any harm. It just does you nothing but good. It's good vibes. It's a great thing to do. Yeah. And so I blurb everything I can. I'll do forwards too. And it's beyond me why people just don't, anyone with any notoriety doesn't adopt his philosophy. Yeah. It just makes nothing but sense.
So now I messaged John because when I heard this, I was like, well, what? So why didn't he do a blurb for Gookin's book then? And he wrote me back and he said, I know Gookin, and I would have gladly given him a blurb for his book. He is wrong. He never asked. So I'm not sure who is full of baloney here. I have an idea of who I think is full of baloney.
I'm a betting man. Would you like to know where I put my money?
Okay, I just thought that was a pretty funny on-the-nose thing because of how this is not the only time Dvorak has talked about doing blurbs. It's something he's mentioned many times that he will do for anybody. He's like, I don't even have to read the book. I'll still just give you a blurb. So,
meanwhile, in Gookin's mind, he asked Dvorak for a blurb, and Dvorak goes,
no, I don't think I will.
Pound sand, Gookin. Oh, man.
Gay.
All right, enough Gookin.
Yeah. All right, please.
I did have something from we were talking about hunting.
Yeah, and how dangerous apparently it is in North Idaho. The 2 hunting articles we've covered in 4 episodes is guy gets lost and dies, and if you shoot a stuffed moose, you're going to federal prison. So The moral of the story is, everybody, be careful when hunting. Jeez.
And that's Fish and Game, of course, that was deploying those very realistic decoy, the Idaho Department of Fish and Game. Here is a nice message from Fish and Game.
Hey, Idaho non-resident hunters. There's a new tag drawing system coming in December. No more waiting in long lines and no more online queues. Starting December 5th through the 15th, non-resident hunters can submit applications with 5 hunt choices and 4 group members. Hunters must have a valid Idaho hunting license in order to apply. They can buy their license and apply online at GoOutdoorsIdaho.com, at any of our IDFG offices and vendor locations, or by calling our toll-free number listed online. Draw results will be posted in early January 2026, and a second application period will be held in February. Have questions about the process? Check out our website for a list of FAQs to help you prepare for December 5th.
Now, I have a quick personal... I saved this for the show. I didn't mention it to you, Paul. What happened with Fish and Game up at my property last week. Where on like a, I don't know, Wednesday morning... I look out the window and I see I'm on a couple acres up here, but I am right next to town. I'm like very near Post Falls downtown, but I'm sort of up on a little bluff, and so I don't have any houses that surround me. And I looked out the window and I saw what I thought was a sheriff out on the field adjacent to my driveway, and I was like, what's this guy doing? you know? So I went down there, I went outside, and I walked up to him, and as I'm approaching him, he sort of turned around and saw me, and he gave me the index finger over the mouth, like, shh. And I was like, yo, excuse me, like, what are you doing here, you know?
Don't you shush me. You're not my dad.
You're not my property, man. And then I saw that he was fishing game. And he was sort of like, we're trying to, there's a moose, mama and a couple baby mooses, and we're trying to corral them. You know, they're down in the ravine, and he's pointing. And he's got two other guys.
One did you ask him, like, are they yours? Did you guys plant them there?
They look really realistic.
They look so real.
He had two guys with him, one with like the trank dart gun, and they were trying to like sort of move slowly towards mama moose and her baby mooses in order to get them, because we're, like I said, we're right next to, downtown the residential area. And he's like, this moose has been, it's been tagged for a couple months now, and it's been aggressive. It's charged kids at a bus stop, and we've been tracking it. Now we're now at a point where we're going to relocate him. We're going to trank him, her and her babies, and we're going to bring him up to, near Lewiston or something like that, and basically just put him out back in the wild. Now, what's crazy about it is I was like, oh, okay, well, good luck. And then I get a text about a half an hour later, and because I'm working up on the computer, I wasn't watching out on the field anymore. And I get the text is from like, hey, this is so-and-so with Fish and Game. We have darted a moose on your property, FYI. And so now I go and I look out the window, and a Department of Fish and Game truck with an enclosed trailer has come up my driveway and is parked on the field, and there are 15 Fish and Game employees that are all milling around. What had happened was and now I went back outside and I watched this. I filmed it. I'll send you the video once we are done with the show here. It took, because it was down sort of in this little ravine, it took all these different employees to put it in one of those, like, you transport the dolphin from the tank to the truck, one of those big canvas
like
carriers
a big old,
or whatever.
Sling.
Yeah, there you go. And they slung this tranked mama moose and dragged her, all 15 of them, heave-ho, dragged her up out of the ravine and put her in this enclosed, like, sort of mini horse trailer type of thing. And I was watching, I was like, I'm counting 15 full-time employees here for this.
How much money do you think was spent that day?
Now, the reason that I bring this up and the amount of people is because as I've been thinking about it, like, I can hear people, what are you saying, man? Like, Fish and Game does important work, and what are they supposed to do if there's an aggressive mama moose? And they're wondering, obviously we need a department like this. Like, and I've thought about it a lot, like, okay, well, what would it have looked like? Let's say there is no Department of Fish and Game. What would happen to that mama moose and her two baby mooses that were like, had been around residential streets for too long and had charged kids at a bus stop?
Chaos.
Well, I'm pretty sure a citizen with a rifle would have taken it out. Is that a fair assumption of what might have happened?
Some Post Falls family would be enjoying a lot of moose stew this Christmas. And, that's not altogether a bad thing.
And it's like, well, what would you want? What do you want society to look like? You anarchists who think that there shouldn't be a Department of Fish and Game. Maybe there wouldn't even be any moose at all on the streets or anywhere else because they'd all have been hunted to extinction in your world where no rules exist. Okay, maybe. What world would you rather live in?
Any group of people or organization that forces me to buy a license to fish or hunt. For 10,000 years of human history, I can go hunting to feed my family if I wish. I can go fishing to, like, that's just, like, that was a part of the human condition. You fish, you hunt, you do the thing. But now I have to have permission from a government agency that I didn't vote for, nor do I agree with.
The mindset that is inclined to defend and otherwise see the value in state apparatuses but if they didn't exist, man, every species just gets hunted to extinction, and it's just a free-for-all, and it can't work like that because otherwise there's not going to be anything for you people to hunt. We need the state. I can hear how they're like, that sounds crazy to them because in their world, without that state apparatus, there are like no trees and all the water's dirty.
Well, it goes back to the very basic concept that I'll touch on real fast, that is People are super bad, so they need to be controlled and governed. Okay, well, if people are so bad, where do you find the angels to do the governance? So, and you can have all the laws on the books you want, as we know. Pick a topic, it goes this way, whether it's the war on drugs or poaching. Bad guys are going to do bad guy stuff either way. Laws do not prevent people from committing crimes. And the legal system, at this point, has ceased to do anything remotely resembling a justice system. It's just a legal system. So if we want to take what we have now and compare it to what I want, which is a stateless society, individuals and people, when they come together for a similar cause, typically do a much better job of dispensing thoughtful, true justice than a monolithic state that we have now.
Would you rather see the world with no moose and all these different species just hunted to extinction rather than have these government bureaucracies? And as I've thought about it, I'm like, yeah, actually,
that's a false premise.
The premise is baloney. But even if it isn't,
I
still would.
This premise that it's either all or nothing, or that without the state, everything would be bad and the water would be completely polluted and the air would be unbreathable and all the animals would die and all the corporations would kill off everything. Well, without the state to run cover for the corporations, well, that can't actually happen anymore because corporations are beholden to the people who buy their stuff and vote with their dollars and vote with their feet. But one thing begets the other, and it's not a dichotomy where it's either totalitarian state control or everything dies and is terrible. It's not that at all. In fact, the government is the biggest polluter on planet Earth, and it's not even close. The corporations are next, and the corporations and the government are the same fucking thing. So you get rid of those, and it's just people living their lives cooperatively or not. I like clean water. I like trees.
I don't know. I feel like trees are overrated. Hey, Chauncey, how many employees does the Idaho Department of Fish and Game have?
As of 2024, the Idaho Department of Fish and Game has about 531 employees. These staff members are spread across different divisions, including administration, communications, enforcement, engineering.
Yeah. 530. That's actually less than I would think.
To cover all of Idaho? No way.
It does seem low.
Well, I'm glad that you didn't get killed by a moose. I'm also glad that when you went out there to talk to them, they didn't get scared and trank you. And it's a damn good thing, Scott, that you didn't have a dog out there, or they would have shot your dog.
Yeah. Okay, so I think here would be a good time to take a quick breather and say that this show runs on the value for value model. Thank you very much, John C. Dvorak and Adam Curry from No Agenda, who have pioneered this model, and that we are gratefully borrowing for this show. Value for value means that you do blurbs for people's books when they do blurbs for yours, or refuse, and then you can lie about the refusal. No, what you do here is you contribute. If you find what you're hearing valuable, if you like this show and it provides value and entertainment to your life, then shoot some value back to us, and that could mean your time, your talent, or your treasure. That could mean a variety of different things. That could mean contributing audio clips or stories that you think we should cover or that you think would go well on the show. It could mean doing show cover art. The thumbnails will change for every episode that we do. It could mean boots on the ground reports. If you're an insider somewhere, if you're one of the, if you have the sort of courage to be like, well, I do, work for the government, and I'm in Kootenai County, and this is what I saw. Any sort of
scoop.
Yes, any insider reports.
Speaking of value for value, like if you want to stay anonymous, we'll keep you anonymous. I'll just buy you a beer and a cigar.
And now, if you contribute to the show financially, there are many different options to do so: Venmo, PayPal, all that good stuff. At noidshow.com, that's where you can go to do all that. Sign up for our newsletter, which we will send out the day before shows, or to send us a donation. And if you include a note, we will read your note on the show. This note is from Anonymous, who donated $250. And Anonymous says, "'Cause you are both awesome, keep it up." Super simple, short note, and actually all of them are. We'll read your note within reason, so, we appreciate the brevity, but unlike No Agenda, we don't have a lot of people doing that yet. So it's not like it's going to, we're not worried about filling up some time reading your note if you got a little bit more to say.
Say whatever you want. Write us an essay. We'll read it. And I'll even lay it. And if, you donate like that, especially, I'll even lay a track down. Like, yeah, gets me in a kind of mood here. So that's what you get, anonymous donor.
Hi, I'm Todd from the government bureaucracy, and I'm here to tell you your taxes are tripling. Yes, tripling.
Oh no, bad. That's the bad vibes.
That's what they did last. That's what they've been doing. They put these fun beds under their bullshit.
Thank you, anonymous donor. We appreciate that.
Next up is Kyle Tohig, the Spook of Spokane. And I know Kyle sent us 3333. And
great number. Thanks, Kyle.
Says, from the Spook of Spokane, great show so far. Awesome. Thank you very much, Kyle, for the support. We appreciate it a lot. And
you're here.
Finally, Kevin Killian sent us $50.
Hey, Kevin.
And Kevin said, thank you for the programming. It's fun to listen to.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for the support and for being a friend and also for being a cigar rep and also for connecting me with other friends and also for being a part of a company that makes great cigars. I love you.
Thus concludeth this episode's list of executive producers. So thank you very much, gentlemen. We appreciate your support tremendously. And we appreciate everybody's support tremendously. Value for value, contribute back to the show as you see fit if you find it valuable. And thank you very kindly.
NoIDshow.com, NoIDshow.com.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm going to come up with a soundbite for thanking everybody next time.
Yeah, Paul's going to have a soundboard in the future. Okay.
In the future.
All right, let's cover quickly Silverwood, because our beloved Silverwood Park is I think they have a buyer.
Silverwood may be getting a new owner. The owners of Dollywood, a Dolly Parton-themed inspired theme park in Tennessee, and the Harlem Globetrotters are hoping to take over the park. Silverwood has been operating independently since its creation more than 35 years ago.
Now, how much do you know about the sort of early years and what Silverwood looked like in its infancy?
Fun fact, in the late 80s, early 90s, early to mid 90s, my grandmother, my dad's mom, who passed away, I don't know, about 10 years ago now, worked as a comptroller at Silverwood. I think she was there for 8-ish years. And when I was a wee lad, I had to have been 4, 5, 6, somewhere thereabouts. I got to go to Silverwood as much as I wanted. And I got to ride the plane, the kids' plane ride. There were the red planes and the white planes, and you could run the joystick up or down and move your plane up and down, and I would spend my entire day on that ride. I always chose the red plane because I thought it was badass and just pretended to shoot down everybody else. It was great. Silverwood was awesome, especially as a kid. They used to have an airstrip out there. In fact, when they first started, it was basically an airstrip and some rides, and the airstrip, they did an air show. One of the main attractions out there for several years, for a while actually, was the air show. And that was pretty cool. That was actually really cool. That has since shut down, I think, long ago. But that's actually what started out there, was an airstrip and then an amusement park.
Unlimited admittance? Man, that's the dream.
Yeah, I had a season pass, and I had no idea how valuable that was. Of course, it was easy for them because, it was easy babysitting. Basically, my parents handed me off to, not that, they didn't want me around or nothing, but it worked out great. They gave me to Grandma Sherry. Grandma Sherry would take me for the day. She dropped me off at the plane ride, and she knew I was going nowhere. They had people keep an eye on me. I was that kid who my dad could take to the softball game, and I'd sit there and I'd watch the softball game, and I'm 5 or 6 years old, and I'm watching the game because we don't have to worry about him. So same thing at Silverwood. North Idaho has a really cool phenomenon where there's a lot of stuff that happens up here and a lot of things that have been going on up here and a lot of things that exist up here and people who do really neat, unique things up here. And most of it is unexpected, and you don't even know about it until you stumble on it. No. At first blush, it's like, how the hell does a theme park such as Silverwood pop up in seriously what was the middle of nowhere, North Idaho, almost 40 years ago? So it's pretty wild, but also really cool.
A little brief history that Silverwood itself produced, but I thought it was illuminating, and this is stuff I didn't know.
The roller coasters across the inland Northwest skyline began with computers. As a young entrepreneur, Gary Norton found he had a way with computers. ISC Systems Corp. was born in 1977 and became one of the great financial software and machine companies of the 80s. When Gary decided to leave the computer business and sell his company in 1988, he was ready for a new challenge. After buying and restoring...
Now I looked, I was like, can I find the sale price for what Silverwood's founder Gary Norton sold that company for in 1988? Couldn't find any public numbers, but based on the reading I did, this is just a guess, but I think he might have got like $60-70 million for it. That's just a straight
in 1985.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm just extrapolating based on what I read, and I could be totally wrong. But that was kind of where I sort of ended up in my head after I read a bunch of what I could find about that company and what it did and its revenue or whatever.
I wonder if him and Dan Gookin hung out computers. I wonder if Dan Gookin was the maven and the owner of Silverwood was, the matriarch or something.
The guru.
To sell his company in 1988, he was ready for a new challenge. After buying and restoring several boats and planes...
He was ready. I also love the verbiage. He was ready for a new challenge. In other words, he was loaded to the gills and could do whatever he wanted. And I was like, what do I buy?
In 1988, he was ready for a new challenge. After buying and restoring several boats and planes, Gary decided to purchase a little piece of Mother Nature in the northern panhandle of Idaho, called Henley Airdrome. As a working airport, Gary now had a place for his collection of planes and antique automobiles. One day at a dusty auction in a quiet corner of Nevada, he met a steam train he couldn't refuse. A 1915 Porter steam locomotive engine fondly named Old Number 7. His petite little airdrome was now shifting to become the backdrop for his train because, where you have a train, you must have a little town for it. Before long, a delightful little Victorian village sprang up at the airdrome, and Gary decided to open this to the public, and thus...
Silverwood produced it. It was on Silverwood's YouTube channel. Sort of buried, but it's there.
It's adorable.
Yeah, it's great.
It is adorable.
We're almost done.
And thus, Silverwood was born. As time passed, people came. They brought their children, their grandchildren, and today, their children's grandchildren. Now, Silverwood covers more than 220 acres and is visited by over 750,000 people from around the world each year.
So now it does seem that the company that bought it does seem to be family owned from what I can tell, and they seem to own lots of different properties. But yeah, Silverwood is now finally no longer with the Norton family.
To their credit, they've owned it for 35 plus years. That's pretty impressive. And
it is.
A theme park is. I'm sure most people think it's a glamorous gig, but my God, very challenging. And I'm impressed. I'm impressed with them, and good for them. I hope. I wish them well. My biggest question, and I might be jumping the gun here, with a conglomerate coming in and buying the thing, a what do they call it? A holding company that controls a bunch of other attractions and entertainment things. Which, by the way, Harlem Globetrotters, tons of fun. Did that as a kid too. How is it going to change the theme park, and how is it going to change the area around the theme park? They're already working on cabins and lodging now, which I'm surprised it took this long to finally have lodging accommodations near the theme park, other than like campsites and RV sites. But my money is on, in less than 5 years, they will have bought up more property right next door, and they will build a hotel. And they might even build condos, and they might even develop some high-end housing or high-end condos or things like that. And in comes a whole different demographic, or some of the same demographic, I guess, that has carpet-bagged its way into the North Idaho already. But now they are right next to Silverwood as well. And it will really change the character of this area that Silverwood is in, which happens to be in between Sandpoint and Coeur d'Alene. So Sandpoint and Coeur d'Alene, they're both deep blue islands full of carpetbaggers, out-of-towners, crazy politics, all kinds of nonsense and bullshit that most of us from here hate. In between those two towns, it was sort of like the buffer zone. And we could all exist in these buffer zones and not
the neutral territory.
Sandpoint and Coeur d'Alene. Yeah, well, or libertarian territory, or just leave me the fuck alone territory, whatever you want to call it.
Did you ever see The Man in the High Castle?
I saw the first few episodes and thought this has a lot of potential. And then I watched a couple more episodes and went, oh, this is poorly written. And I can tell that millennials have their hands all over it. And this is kind of cartoonish. And I can see where this is going. I'm out.
the exact same experience that you did, because the concept is very novel and it sort of ropes you in at
Super
first.
cool
but
concept.
Then, but then it doesn't hold up for the reasons you just mentioned. But I thought of it because the concept in that show is that, the Axis had won the Second World War, and, Japan.
Who says they didn't? Hey-o.
Japan controls the eastern U.S. and, the western U.S., the Pacific states, and the Germany controls the eastern, but then like the Rocky Mountains are the neutral zone. Nobody controls that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm sort of picturing as the Panhandle where Silverwood is.
I did get a significant kick out of the Rocky Mountain zone being like the last free area, quote unquote free area in the U.S. in this futuristic. What's the word I'm looking at? Post-apocalyptic. There's another world.
Yeah, dystopian future.
Yeah. Thank you, dystopian type thing. And I was like, yes, I think Idaho's probably in this free land. But of course they make it, everybody is poor and everybody is terrible and it's all super sad and bad and somehow because there is a lack of centralized authority, it's just so awful in this quote unquote.
Yeah, that's that, right. The true dystopia is where the state's not in control.
Yeah. I mean, because we are here to break down mainstream narrative. So here I go. Hollywood mainstream narrative is perfect. Like Man in the High Castle was a perfect example of it, where on both sides, and incidentally, it's the coasts again, right? It's the East Coast and the West Coast. There is totalitarian regimes, but people are more comfortable. At least the creature comforts still exist, and there's law, and there's order, and there's society. And then you have the quote unquote free zone, which is the last vestige of whatever remains of liberty and freedom and whatnot. And the way the show is set up, it's the worst place to be. Is the most free place is the worst place to be. Like, oh, Hollywood, tell me how stupid you really are and how you really feel. Is like, yeah, okay, so we think fascism is bad and socialism is great too. Is great, but maybe kind of bad if you press our feet to the fire. But hey, at least you can have creature comforts. If we didn't have fascism or socialism or communism or totalitarian state, it would just be chaos. So it's like it's a great look into the mainstream narrative mind and the minds of the people who produce it. State control is kind of bad and fascism's kind of bad, and these things are but think of how much worse it would be if you didn't have that. What the fuck?
So anyway, with the neutral zone of the Panhandle might start to look like Disney World, is basically what you're saying.
Yes, I think that's what's going to happen. That's what my money is on. It'll take a couple of years, and there will be fights along the way. You might even see lawsuits or something, and the community surrounding it will be pretty upset. Athol will be pretty pissed off about it. Kerrywood will be pretty pissed off about it, but they don't have any power. And most of the people with Athol in particular who control Athol and Hayden, because Silverwood splits, basically. You got Hayden to the north of Coeur d'Alene. You've got Athol to the south of Sandpoint, and those are your next kind of little population points. And the people who own the stuff in both those towns and have the property and work in real estate and work in banking, and they're already on the city councils and they already pull the levers as it is now, they're the ones who are going to make out like bandits. They're going to be the ones brokering the deals. They're going to be the ones selling the property that they picked up along the way. They're going to make fuck tons of money, and the area is going to continue to change and at a faster pace, and the buffer zone shrinks. And that is my call. I think give it 3 to 5 years or less. And the regular people will shout and scream
that quickly.
Well, look at the Post Falls area, the Coeur d'Alene area now. Like I've lived here my entire life. I'm a local from here. I've lived outside the area for a few years off and on because go away for college, a couple other things. So I haven't been here for 37 years straight without a break. But I'm a local. I'm from here. The pace of growth is so fast. I mean, it's so fast. So why would Silverwood look any different? The area around it, especially now that it's backed by a corporation that owns 25, 35 other properties and has a budget of infinity.
Now,
they're motivated now. Who knows how much money they spent on buying Silverwood? It couldn't have been cheap. Now they got to find a way to amortize it. So you're going to raise, ticket prices? Probably. You're going to raise the cost of everything inside the park? Probably. And then how do you also get that back? You develop the property around you.
We'll see if the purchase price, the amount, ever becomes public. I tried to kind of get a sense of what that might have been, and the range was so large, and there's obviously not been any disclosures. I don't know how much it would have been. Also, did this say how many properties?
New owner, the owners of Dollywood, a Dolly Trotters, are hoping to take over the park. Silverwood has been up.
Yeah, no, they just gave a couple of examples, so I'm not exactly.
The article does.
It does.
I
Okay.
think, hold on. Now I got to pull it up.
That's okay. While you're pulling it up, this was to one of their other properties that this company owns, Stone Mountain Park in Georgia. They actually got out of their contract early. This is just very brief, and it's just about this company and a maneuver that they pulled, and I thought it was interesting.
Stone Mountain Park is looking for new management. Herschen Family Entertainment now is ending its 30-year contract to run the park's attractions about 7 years early. The CEO of Stone Mountain Memorial Association now telling our partners at the Atlanta Business Journal that the decision is because of recent protests and demonstrations interfering with business. They are now taking bids for a new company to run one of the state's busiest attractions.
So it was a Civil War memorial, but it was like a Confederate carving. There's in rock in this park, and this company managed this property, and they got out of their contract because of the sort of controversy that surrounded it. So obviously, the company is, as many companies are, averse to controversy, and inevitably there will be lots of controversy surrounding the type of development you're describing. So I wonder how they'll handle that.
Yeah, but it's not the kind of controversy that can expose them to accusations that make you a non-person in today's world. So like,
right.
There's a big difference between being controversial because you're developing land and being controversial because you are perceived as a racist. One is basically a death knell for your reputation in your business, whether it's accurate or not. Just the accusation is enough to kill you in this day and age, because God forbid we do our due diligence. And the other one is just like you're just a garden variety evil corporate villain if you develop land people don't want you to develop. But I mean, actually, Peaky Blinders is a good example of this. If you've ever watched the show Peaky Blinders, talk about another peek into the minds of Hollywood folks in the mainstream narrative. You watch that show, watch all the seasons, and you watch and see all of the atrocities that the Shelby family commits. Time and time and time again in the show, it makes a point just to jam it in your faces that of all the bad things they are, well, at least they're not racists. You can murder people, you can bribe, you can steal, you can extort, you can thieve, you can use government as a weapon and a shield for you can do everything else, and it's forgivable. But what's unforgivable? Racism.
I would even put
perceived racism.
I was going to put a finer point on it and say that you can actually be a raging racist. You just have to use the current PC language of anti-racist. You just have to say you're not a racist. You have to use the correct language and say the correct things, but you can actually be a racist.
That's actually one of the jokes. I mean, my God, all of the people on the left who have said the things they say, and then of course there's the soft bigotry of low expectations that the left also employs, especially white leftists who the whole mentality is, you can't do it without our help. You poor black and brown people, you'll never make it without us giving you a leg up. Even this was always one of my favorites. Remember, Biden took some heat, but not much, and certainly not from the left, over referring to Barack Obama as a clean, one of the few. Basically, the implication was like he's black, yeah, but he's also clean cut and well spoken.
Yeah, he doesn't like sag his pants or wear a sideways hat.
It's like, oh man, okay, or shit. Even in the most recent election between Biden and Trump, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Yeah, but so you're right. Great point. Racism is forgivable if you have the right ideology, the correct ideology. But anyways, going all back to your original question, and it's by the way, I looked it up. It is the Herschen family. You already said that, but it's the Herschen family. They won't take the same kind of heat for developing land as they might have taken for owning a theme park that, God forbid, has a rock that at one point some Confederate people rode on. Also, to answer another question we posed, they have more than 40 family entertainment brands across North America, including Dollywood, Resorts in Pigeon Forge, Silver Dollar Cities, Parks and Resorts, Harlem Globetrotters, et cetera, et cetera. So clearly their focus is kind of unique and quote unquote real family centric entertainment brands.
You said Globetrotters, so we're still doing the racist thing then, huh? Are the owners Asian?
Ooh.
There it is.
How you like me now?
I have a few more. This is just sort of a little bit of a lightning round to some random stuff. Just so you know, that sculpture, I used the whole U of I, the public art, the sculpture of Joe Vandal. I use that to just highlight the vocal fry. But I do want to confirm that story, it is about art and it is about Idaho.
The University of Idaho has unveiled a new statue of its mascot, Joe Vandal. The bronze statue, created by sculptor Gareth Curtis, honors the associated students of the University of Idaho. More than 1,500 people helped design it. You can find the statue between the ICCU arena and the P1FCU Kibbe Dome, where it serves as a gathering place for students and alumni.
I just loved that too. Yes, it's next to the Bank of America Pavilion, which is across the street from the Washington Mutual Coliseum. Like, it's just so freaking commercialized. It's a beautiful thing. But anyway, I just wanted to know that you accused me, of just sort of going off into the middle of the woods. But nope, that story was about Idaho.
Accuse is a strong word. But more just maybe question or misunderstood.
Okay, so there is that one. We got that out of the way. I have this one, a little like a public service announcement.
Well, some bad news for skiers and snowboarders. Schweitzer is pushing back opening day. Now, they originally had planned on opening up next week on November 21st, but because of the weather and some rain, they had to push back opening by 1 week. So now they're going to open in 2 weeks instead. Schweitzer says if you have tickets or reservations for that original opening day, reach out to their reservation team.
So I just thought this was funny because, how do they know they're going to be able to open in a week? There's still no snow.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a couple more before we wrap for today. And this came up, this lady came up when your dad was on our first episode, and here's a little update.
The criminal cases against 4 security guards accused of dragging a woman from a Coeur d'Alene town hall is heading to trial. The 4 men are charged with misdemeanor battery and false imprisonment for forcibly removing Teresa Bornpole during the town hall back in February. Their defense asked the court to dismiss the charges yesterday, arguing that they were following directions from the Kootenai County Sheriff himself, Bob Norris. However, the judge declined to dismiss the charges, saying the decision belongs to a jury. This move comes just weeks after the Idaho Attorney General's office opted not to file criminal charges against Sheriff Norris. The trial for the 4 security guards is set to begin coming up on December 15th.
Yeah, so they're going to try the private security guard guys, it sounds like.
But not the sheriff.
Yes, not the sheriff.
That alone ought to give everybody pause, right? Rules for thee, but not for me. And when the cops are involved, they get away with everything. Regardless of your opinion on whether they should have or shouldn't have removed this Teresa Bornpole gal, who is batshit crazy, by the way, and I do not say that lightly. She deserved to be ejected. It was a private setting. The public was welcome, but it was not a public place, and a private organization paid to be there, so they had the right to remove anybody and trespass anybody. The Coeur d'Alene PD is crazy wrong about that, and so is the mainstream narrative. Where they, the mainstream narrative is, the freedom of speech. And it's like, well, sure, but you don't have the freedom to disrupt debate or conversations, or you don't have the right to disrupt events that are run by a private organization that spent its own money to rent out a public place, which then makes it private for that private organization. So this gal shows up and throws a fit and wrecks house, and then they remove her. And the Sheriff Norris was involved, and he gets top cover from the state attorney general, which is because what they did was not incorrect, and it was directed by Norris, which was not incorrect. The DOJ's decision makes sense, but it is astounding to me, not surprising, but astounding, that the 4 private citizens get put to the fire. Just simmer on that for a minute, and it tells you all you need to know about the way this shit works.
Well, and the notion that the mainstream cares about freedom of speech and doesn't loathe it with every fiber of their being. Are you kidding me? They hate freedom of speech. You know, you should, if you're spreading quote COVID misinformation, you should be silenced by the social media platforms. I mean, they so obviously hate freedom of speech. Anytime you hear them busted out as something they care about, you know they're just full of crap. They're just using it as a cudgel for whatever issue it is they need to use it for.
Whenever it's convenient for them, they bust it out. One of the four guys is his name is Russ Dunn, and he is a very good fellow. I'm sad that he has to go through this because the guy is about as straightforward as they go. He's the kind of dude I trust with my life. We don't agree on everything for sure because he's definitely not an anarchist. He's not even a minarchist. I don't even know if he's a libertarian. So we don't agree. We certainly don't agree on everything. But family of. He's got 2 or 3 kids, a great wife, good people, and the fact that he has to now defend this, which people don't realize. As I've wound my way through the legal system in a couple of times in my life, and it is uprooting, and it just knocks everything out of place. It is expensive. It is so stressful. It drags on forever, and everything is counterintuitive and unjust, and it does not make sense. The legal system does not protect victims. It protects criminals, and the legal system is a weapon wielded by those with the most money and power. And if you don't believe me, it's because you've never been involved in it or been entangled with it yet. And conservatives, it amazes me how much faith conservatives still have in that system. But I promise you, all it takes is just get entangled in it. And if you don't come away with a different perspective,
it's because they want to. They need very badly to continue believing in the institutions of our society, and I understand why. I understand that need, but in many cases, I've observed that there's an inability to accept the reality, the reality, the lack of legitimacy. Maybe they started as one thing, but they've sort of become corrupted, as institutions tend to do.
Yeah. Conservative trust in institutions is at an all-time low, but for the wrong reasons. And the moment that the quote-unquote right people are back in charge for a short period of time, all of a sudden their trust jumps way back up again. That's actually happening right now with the Trump administration. All the MAGA people and the red hat wearers and the conservatives who somehow thought Trump was going to save them and fix all this stuff. Just because, my guy's in charge now. But what they fail to realize is it doesn't matter who's in charge. The system still hates you, and it's still designed against you. It doesn't matter who's in charge. It's a systemic issue.
There's also the part where they closed courts entirely during the mass psychosis. How important do they actually really even believe the institution is? Like, oh, yes, no, it's fundamental. It's bedrock. It's a bedrock of our land. Except for when we just close it completely.
Public schools was, I think, the best illustration of that. It was chaos if we don't have public schools, and then they closed them, and a lot of us went, "No, wait, actually, life is better." you go ahead and stay closed, please.
You know what's amazing too is, everyone is pretending. Almost everyone is pretending like it never happened, like they didn't close public schools. In some places, they were closed for 2 years. And everyone has just moved right on and pretended like that never happened. And the thing is if you don't acknowledge it or give an indication that you have a sense of what happened, then it can and will happen again. You have no defense against it. Okay, I have a couple more here before we...
Oh, you get a bell for that. Sorry. Slow on the uptake there, but there's a bell. Sorry. Trying to get better about that.
And in order to cut costs and boost security, the Idaho State Tax Commission is getting ready to make thousands of businesses go paperless when filing their taxes. The Tax Commission reporting that in 2025, they mailed out over 340,000 paper returns. The cost of that adding up pretty quickly. The Tax Commission says taxpayers will see those changes coming soon.
Now, what's amazing is they won't. It's not as if the taxpayers are going to pay less. It's just they'll have more money there to distribute to their own payrolls. It's not like, oh, we need to do this so we can tax you less. Oh, my God, we're spending way too much money.
Every time the government actually manages to save a buck, it doesn't mean the taxpayer gets it back, and it doesn't mean our taxes go down.
Ever. It never means that.
It just means the government has more money to spend. How much you want to bet that the Idaho Tax Commission will add some positions and spend more money on staff and bureaucracy, or bureaucrats, I should say. Or even better, existing staff get like fucking, 5%, 10% raises, and the people at the top who are already making six figures, like literally making money, stealing our money, and they will get more. Oh, by the way, you also, in the words of Ben Kenobi, it's as if a million boomer voices cried out and were silenced. You know how many old people are going to be pissed about having to go digital? Now, their accountants are going to love it. Like, my accountant has forced me to go digital with everything, and I hate it. But I do understand why they like it, and I understand why it works. It definitely is more convenient. But, man, I don't want my shit all over the internet already, more than it already is. I like paper, I'll admit. I'm a Luddite. I like paper. I like to file it. I like to look at it. I like to feel it. Like, I'm weird. I like paper. It works.
You know what I love doing with paper is, hold on. This is going to be great.
Lighting it on fire.
Well, yeah. When you're doing a show like any sort of a broadcast type of show, paper is very useful for like and then like stacking in front of the microphone, so it sounds very official, like you're doing news stories. And tonight at the 11, our top story.
I too like to arrange my notes before I go on a screed.
Okay, I think that is probably. I have a couple more, but I think we can save them for our next show.
We do have one that we haven't covered that
What's
if
that?
we don't cover here, we gotta cover next time, and that is Coeur d'Alene severance packages.
Oh, I have that. Let's cover. We that's not a good thing to miss. Yes, I have that. Let's do it.
Coeur d'Alene City Council is introducing a voluntary separation incentive program today. They're hoping it prompts some older employees to retire early. So with the proposal, people who
Go home,
retire
boomer.
early would get paid out for their sick leave, vacation, and service time. But retirees would have to opt out of the city's medical coverage. Right now, the city is in a budget deficit, so the point of this is to cut personnel costs.
Which is always the biggest budget item, always.
Oh,
ever,
by far.
Ever.
Yes, by far.
It's especially with government. In general, it is for the private sector. But in the private sector, we're like, hey, what value do you bring to my business? Oh, okay, this value, I'll pay you commensurate with your value. If you work for the government, they're like, how long have you been here? 20 years? What do you do? We don't really know. How's six figures sound?
What would you say you do here?
I'm good with people, okay? I take their money. I make them write it down on paper. I take their money again. And if they don't pay on time, I send people to kidnap them and throw them in jail. I'm great with the customer.
I'm good with the goddamn customers.
Excellent. We'll pay you $150,000.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, shit. We can't afford that now. We spent it all on communist art. Oh, city of Coeur d'Alene.
How were we supposed to know it was communist? There's just, if you just, there's a hammer, there's a sickle. Oh, we missed it. We missed the imagery. Yeah, that's, what's funny too is I'm sure you've probably had a similar experience, both having had retail hospitality establishments that ran payroll, which is that people that have not, which is almost everybody, people that have not operated retail hospital or really, I guess, any sort of a company with a payroll, they have no concept of the role and the line item that payroll is in the operations costs. So what they'll do is they'll go, oh, well, your rent and your this, maybe they have an understanding of like cost of goods, they seem to have some sort of rudimentary understanding that you have to buy the cigars before you can turn around and sell them. So there is a cost. It's not like if you sell a cigar for $8, you just made $8. Although, even that's borderline. A lot of people don't seem to understand
Borderline.
Quite that either.
If you're dealing with somebody with above average intelligence, they typically can at least grasp that. But
That
that's
part
usually
sort of.
where it stops.
Yes, but there's never, almost never does anybody ever think about payroll, despite the fact that payroll is your biggest line item and it isn't even close. And that's in a private establishment where you must meet the payroll before you pay yourself. It's not like the payroll administrators make the most and then, the top level and it goes down from there, that like the government apparatus, because they pay themselves first.
On top of that, payroll taxes, which if you are a business owner, you double pay, because if you pay yourself, you pay payroll taxes as an employee. and you pay the payroll taxes as an employer. And then when you pay everybody else, you pay their payroll taxes as an employer. And it adds up to anywhere from 12 to 18%, depending on pay scales. So then you've got your employees who make X dollars an hour or X thousands of dollars a year, and they're always, dissatisfied because, God, it should be more. And I always told my crew, I would pay you 20% more if the fucking government wouldn't take it. Like, payroll, man. But when it comes to government, it's just maddening because it just don't suffer the same consequences. You can pay people damn near whatever you like until you get to the point where the Coeur d'Alene is at and go, oh crap, we actually are maybe running out of money. And the taxpayer base, the people who live here, their taste for higher taxes is stretched already. Anyways, take it away, Scott.
Here was another way that this was reporting the same story, but it was just covered in slightly different words. And I just like to dissect the different presentations.
What would you say?
Whoops, not that one. That one.
That's a good
The city of Coeur d'Alene is thinking about offering retirement incentives to help balance their budget. They say it could save money if some longtime employees retire. The city would either delay replacing them or hire lower paid replacements. The city is in a $1.8 million budget deficit, even after a small property tax increase. About 30 workers are eligible for retirement, including a few department heads.
I do like the subtle editorializing. A small property tax increase. According to who? Who's gatekeeping what is a small, medium, and large amount?
What a great question.
It's that sort of stuff that gets snuck into these sorts of monologues or presentations. These are everything is a script. I'm not blaming the talking head's just some dope. He's reading a teleprompter. Somebody plugged those words into the teleprompter. And I just always wonder, is the person who typed those words, are they thinking about what they're saying? You can just say a property tax increase. When you start putting adjectives in there, you're editorializing.
That's the tactic that they have always used. Always. And when I say they, I mean the mainstream media and the bureaucrats and the government and the state and everybody involved in the whole shebang. One of the primary tactics, and especially at the local level, is, it's just a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
If you'll notice, especially when they talk about property taxes, what they do is they break it out by number of dollars per $100,000 of home value. Anytime there's an article about it, they always make a point to show that, because when you break it out that way and you go, and they go, okay, they're talking about a levy, for example, another levy, so many levies, but they're talking about, another supplemental levy for Post Falls School District, and it will only add $5.76 per $100,000 of taxable value that is on your home. And then you look at that and go, well, that's pretty reasonable. That's pretty small. $5.76, $100,000. And then you go, but wait a minute, like my home has been valued at, $600,000 just by luck of living here. And everybody wants to live here. So home prices are through the roof and assessment levels are crazy high because, hey, higher tax base, more money. So let's say, and the median home sale value over the last year has been $550,000. So let's use that number. $550,000, that's 5.5 when you divide it by 100,000, 5.5 times 5. All right, that's 30 some odd more bucks a year. Okay, but then you stack that onto all the other line items that already exist on your property taxes, and all of a sudden it's $1,200 a year. But hey, it was just a little more. It was just a little more.
Only.
And then the next bond comes up. It's just a little more.
Yeah.
Only a little more. Yeah, and then the DMV raises their prices for registering your vehicle for 2 years, but it was only by $12. It's only a little more. And Vista raises their rates, but it's only by a little more. And then all of a sudden, you've only a little moored yourself into thousands of dollars more a year that you're paying.
And this is a marketing tactic. It's a well-known one. New from Mattel, G.I. Joe, only $29.99. Call now. Like, saying only is very much a psychological marketing tactic to get people to think that whatever you just presented is reasonable. Now, I understand why Mattel would do it, because they're selling a product. Why is a neutral news presentation doing it on behalf of government tax increases? Who are they marketing to? Who are they marketing for?
It's very clever. And the mainstream narrative on this happening, again, at face value, it doesn't seem like such a big deal. Why are we harping on it? With this Coeur d'Alene trying to decrease their workforce and the way they're doing it, it seems pretty benign. And in some ways a good thing. And actually it is a good thing to get, in my opinion, the fewer bureaucrats in the workforce, but the better. Hell yeah, I'm for it. But it's important to note that they are openly admitting and not so subtly if you know what you're looking for. They're openly admitting that they've run out of money, so they have to get rid of the most expensive people. And that's what they're trying to do. We have way too many expensive people on our books, and the number of people who make six figures working for the city of Coeur d'Alene is past 2 or 3 or 4 dozen. It's somewhere in the realm of 30 to 50 people at this point. And that's a lot, man. That is a lot.
Coeur d'Alene is not a big town.
And now they got to get rid of some of them. The moral of the story is government sucks and people are expensive.
Yes. Yes, they are. And nobody realize. And, just even finishing the thought too about, Johnny Public not understanding the notion of payroll. There's also a total lack of understanding of what it means to not run in the black, which most retail hospitality, what is the failure rate of restaurants, is like freaking 80%. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's very high. I think you're taking a big risk, and that's not news, when you open up something like that. But I've just had so many conversations with people where they just have absolutely no concept of what it means to not make money and need operating capital. In their minds, they think you're either making money or you're just at zero. Like, no, there's a burn rate. And the burn rate is really, really high if you don't do gangbusters right out of the gate. And that's why you need operating capital when you get started with something like that. And that you've got to have capital for, a long time, many months, maybe a year, 2 years, whatever the number is for the type of business you're opening up. Like, you're going to have to cover a spread at the end of every month. And people just don't understand that at all. They're just like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to open the wine bar and this is what I'm going to look like out of the gate. Yeah. Well, what if you don't look like that out of the gate? Do you have $20K a month to cover the gap? Where are you going to get that from?
Well, one of the biggest issues is that most folks have never done anything other than sign the back of a check. A lot of that is because most people just aren't entrepreneurs. They're not interested. They don't want to take the risks, or they don't want to do the work because it is risky and there's a lot of work, which is why entrepreneurs, the successful ones, typically tend to do well. And because you're rewarded, you did the work, you took the risk. The market rewards that. Most people don't have it in them to do that. Furthermore, the farther along we get in society here, the harder it is to be an entrepreneur, because the list of what we can do is dwarfed by the list of what we can't do. And to be a business owner is essentially to find ways around the government bullshit to make your business profitable and to keep it legal. The regulatory environment is insane. It is a slow, steady strangulation of creativity, innovation, and market entrepreneurialism. The fact that anybody still makes it is a testament to how hard they work and how clever they are. Truly, it's insanely hard. And people our age, I'm a millennial business owners barely exist. I mean, they're a phenomenon because it's so damn hard to run a business in this day and age.
It not only that it was not emphasized as something that you should try to do by the mainstream, by your public education, by the messaging that society was giving you with the media you were consuming. Really nowhere was entrepreneurialism emphasized as something desirable. It almost wasn't even brought up. It was just like,
correct.
Well, what are you going to do? You're going to go to college, and then what company are you going to go work for? You're going to go work for Boeing? You're going to go work for the Department of whatever? You're like, who are you going to work for? It wasn't even presented as something you should strive for. And I mean, obviously, like the amount of regulations and hoops and how unbelievably difficult it is under optimum conditions with none of that, how difficult it is to run in the black and be profitable. And then when you add all that stuff on top of it, it becomes next to impossible. Not impossible because people do it, but very, very difficult. And that's why you'll forgive me, local politician and bureaucrat, when I hear you talk about how business friendly you are. You'll forgive me if I don't really believe you. And even if you think, by the way, even if you think you think you are, I'm not saying you're not genuine. I'll assume you are genuine. But then you just sort of have a sort of lack of understanding of what the regulatory environment is truly like.
Points to you for both of those points. Actually, I think you should get 2 bells for that. To add on to your point about politicians not understanding things or not being pro-business or thinking they're pro-business, there is a difference between being pro-free market and pro-business. So there are a lot of people out there, and in this area included, I've witnessed it a lot, that are pro-business when it's their business or their friends' businesses, but they are not pro-free market. And that is the rule around here in Coeur d'Alene, especially Sandpoint, Post Falls. The people who control the machinations of the politics and the bigger businesses in the area, They're pro-business for their businesses and for their friends' businesses, but they are not interested in deregulating the markets. They're not interested in making it a freer marketplace up here so that everybody can thrive. They're happy to be the big winners, and they will lobby for that again and again. I saw that. I will tell this story real quick because it highlights exactly thus. I was a part of a men's business group for all of about 8 months when after I had just built the lounge the first time around, the Bulldog Pipe and Cigar, and they met down in Coeur d'Alene and had a luncheon. I think it was every other week, and it was one of those like networking business things where you get one guy from each trade or from each industry, whatever, and there's 24 of us, and every other week one of us gives a presentation, and we're all supposed to support each other, and the usual bullshit business networking thing. And I thought, hey, I'll give this a try. I was the youngest guy there easily by 10, 15, 20 years. And I quickly realized that almost all those guys were already entrenched, already established. Most of their businesses they got from their families, or they did build themselves, but within these networks that already existed. They all were realtors, bankers, title loan guys, developers, builders. I mean, there almost wasn't a single fucking one of them that did anything that wasn't in the finance or real estate industries. And they were just gross. Most of them were gross dudes. A lot of handshaking, a lot of backdoor deals. They had the levers to power. And when Mark Eberlein, who was a Kootenai County commissioner, he is now again, but he was, I think now we're going on 10 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago. It was a big hullabaloo about Kootenai County rolling back some of the requirements for universal building code. So for people who wanted to build their own houses or have private builders build their houses, some of the regulations, because Kootenai County is renowned for being one of the worst counties to deal with for building code. They're god awful, and it impedes growth, and it makes it way, way, way more expensive. So again, back to that thing, you want to know why housing is so expensive? Blame Kootenai County for one. They hold it all back and make it 25% more expensive. But Mark Eberlein was trying to make it less expensive and give property rights back to homeowners and people who wanted to build on their property. So he said, hey, some of this universal building code that is too extra, let's roll that back. And it passed. Now, it didn't mean there weren't any codes. There still was state codes. So for electrical, for plumbing, for all the stuff that really matters, the state codes still stood. It's like there was a bare minimum, and the minimum was still pretty high. So it wasn't like chaos or anarchy. There are no codes. But that's how it was presented when it passed. And so all of these dudes, drawing it back into this luncheon group, who were involved in the building industries, the real estate association industries, the builder association industries, the banking industries, all came out against Mark Eberlein and what had just happened because it's chaos now. It's anarchy. If there are no codes, basically their entire formula for how they all make money and rip everybody off in a big way now has less force behind it. You don't need them as much if you have more freedom with your property. I don't need a contractor heavily if I don't have to navigate as many codes. And it costs me less. So the Builders Association is against it. We don't need realtors and title companies involved as much if there's fewer legalities around it or ways I can get sued. So, they're not happy about it, so on and so forth. The banks aren't happy about it because, of course, in their minds, it's anarchy. And now everything we have a mortgage on is going to be worth less because it might burn down. So they ousted Mark Eberlein. And in this group of guys, they were just so nasty about it. And that's when I realized, oh, you guys aren't for free markets and you're not for freedom. You're pro-business, but you are not pro-freedom or free markets. And so that is what most people up here are like, to your point. Sorry, that was a long way to get there, but people have this misconception of North Idaho, especially when they move here, that it's all copacetic and everybody's Republicans are all great or conservatives and it's very freedom-minded. No, it's fucking not, actually. There's a few of us who actually are freedom-minded and everybody else is like some mild version of blue dog Democrat.
And it's relative. So relative to Berkeley, it is very freedom-minded. Relative to freedom, it's not very freedom-minded, nor is really is anywhere because everywhere is filled with humans, and humans are not freedom-minded.
And then it ties back into what we were talking about just a minute ago with the public education system being designed to funnel people through to be workers, not to be entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship is a different form of freedom. that most people don't want, they're not interested in, they're scared of, and they don't want to do the work. So people are economically illiterate because they have no concept of how business works or what it takes to make it work and how the government makes it infinitely harder.
Which is, I don't mind necessarily that, like, you, friend, who I'm having a conversation with, that I don't mind that you don't know. I only mind that you talk about it as if you do. And then when I point out that you don't know, you don't hear anything that I'm saying. I don't blame people. There's a I don't know a lot of stuff too, you know, but like I would try to catch myself. I try to catch myself in these sorts of conversations where, like, well, wait a minute. Like, am I really going to dismiss anarcho-capitalism? Do I know anything about it?
A lot of the time when regular people talk economics, in my head, what I hear them say is, I wish everybody had infinity dollars. And then I just look at them and I just want to tell them, go to your room until you read Milton Friedman. You just stay there until you read an economics book or Thomas Sowell, and then we'll have a conversation. And then I'll let you out of your room and we'll talk like adults.
Yeah, we have to have like a common baseline. We have to understand what premises we're coming from.
Understanding reality helps. That's a good place to start.
Well, we hope that this presentation of No ID has helped you understand reality to the extent that we understand it, and to the extent that there even is any such thing as reality, because I'm seeing reality through my view, and Paul's seeing it through his, and you're seeing it through yours, and that is true for literally every single human on the planet. So to the extent that reality even exists, maybe we helped you make some sense of it this week. If that is true.
If we are living in the Matrix, well, then hopefully we made it a better Matrix today.
Hopefully so. And if you feel like that, if you feel like there was some value that you got out of today's or any of our shows, please go to noidshow.com and help support us value for value. That's the model that we run on. And so we rely on and greatly appreciate any value you want to send back to us. noidshow.com.
Yeah, you graciously offer up your time, talent, and treasure. And I apologize, I just interrupted Scott again. But yeah, your time, talent, treasure, we really appreciate it. And we really appreciate your ears listening to us. We know that, well, time is valuable of itself. So thank you for yours.
Oh, thank you very much.
So until the next one, I'm Scott.
And I'm Paul. Taxation is theft.
Oh, you reversed it again. Try one more time. And I need you to get it in the correct order. One more time.
Right. I got to lock out properly.
Lock out properly.
Training. This is training. Taxation is theft. I'm Paul Banducci. We don't hire you unless you do drugs with us.